When most people think about retirement, they picture lazy mornings with no alarm clocks, maybe some golf, or traveling to places they've always dreamed of. But here's the kicker. Without enough money saved up, that dream can turn into a nightmare. Unfortunately, that's the reality for a lot of people. We're talking about what some call the retirement savings crisis. It's a huge deal, and it's not going away anytime soon. Let's dive into how much money people have saved for their retirement and explore ways to solve this issue. You might be surprised at what we uncover, so stay tuned. My name is Chris, and I help teach people about money, personal finance, and investing. If you're interested in improving your financial future, make sure to subscribe to the channel and hit the like button if this video is helpful. Let's start with the basics. How much do people actually have saved for retirement? Well, the numbers aren't pretty. If you're around 55 to 64 years old in the US, the median amount in your retirement account is about $185,000. This information is from a 2022 survey of consumer finances. Now, that might sound like a lot at first, but think about it. If you're planning to retire at 65 and live another 20 years or more, that cash is going to disappear fast. When considering a 4% safe withdrawal rate, this amount of money is only providing about $7,400 per year in income. With no new money coming in, you've got to stretch that $185,000 over decades, and that's assuming you don't face any major health issues or other surprises. For those approaching retirement, specifically individuals between the ages of 45 and 54, the situation is concerning. On average, this group has only managed to accumulate around $115,000 in their retirement accounts. They may have some time left before they're ready to retire, but with just over $100,000 saved, they still have a significant gap to close before they're truly prepared. Moving down the age spectrum, the financial picture doesn't get any rosier. Those in the 35 to 44 age bracket have a median retirement savings of about $45,000. Given that they're potentially 20 to 30 years away from retirement, they still have some time to build their nest eggs. However, $45,000 is a modest amount, and unless they really ramp up their savings efforts, they could be facing a major shortfall when it's time to retire. This is the age when many people are juggling multiple financial responsibilities, such as mortgages, student loans, and raising a family, which can make saving for retirement even more challenging. For the youngest group, those under 35, the median retirement savings is even smaller, with less than $19,000 set aside. While they do have the most time ahead of them to save, this figure highlights a worrying trend. The combination of student debt, rising living costs, and perhaps a lack of financial literacy contribute to this low savings rate. Without a huge change in savings behavior or income growth, this group could find themselves in a difficult position later in life, as compound interest and time are crucial factors in building a substantial retirement fund. The challenge for this group is to recognize the importance of starting early, even when retirement feels like a distant concern. Most people are counting on Social Security to fill in the gaps, but here's the thing. Social Security was never meant to be your retirement plan. It's supposed to cover around 40% of what you were making before you retired. So where's the other 60% supposed to come from? Ideally, that's where your savings or pension would step in, but for a lot of people, the math just doesn't add up. There are a ton of reasons why people aren't saving enough for retirement. Let's break it down. Wages just aren't keeping up. You've probably heard about how the cost of living keeps going up, but wages, not so much. For a lot of people, it's hard enough to cover rent, groceries, and maybe a night out once in a while. Putting money aside for something that's decades away? That can feel impossible when you're just trying to make it through the month. They might receive an annual adjustment in pay, which is both to help out with rising living costs in addition to experience and loyalty, but for most of us, it's not quite keeping up with the ever-rising costs we're seeing. Life is expensive. Everything costs more these days. Houses, healthcare, education, you name it. Just take a look at the cost of a new car, the price of a modest home in the suburbs, or just the cost of your weekly food bill. Once these priorities are addressed, there's just not that much left over unless you're bringing in annual amounts in the upper six figures. They're burdened with debt. They're weighed down by a variety of loans, which includes student loans, credit card debt, and other financial obligations. This major debt burden makes it challenging for many people to focus on saving for retirement. Instead of setting aside money for their future, they find themselves concerned with the repayment of their debts. The constant pressure to manage and reduce these financial liabilities often means that building a retirement fund gets pushed to the back burner. Most of us aren't taught about this stuff. Let's be real. Most of us didn't learn about retirement planning at school. It's not like there was a class on how to make sure you don't run out of money when you're 75. Even if that's a class you did have, chances are slim that it was taken seriously. A lot of people are just winging it, and that's not exactly a recipe for success. What's even more concerning is that they don't see winging it as an issue. People just don't care. This is perhaps the single most critical thing that's really holding people today back. They're all about living for today, with no regard for their financial future. This live for today mentality has them focusing on enjoying life in the moment, spending money on things that bring immediate happiness, like the latest tech, eating out, or taking that last-minute trip. They simply aren't concerned with preparing for the future and are just cruising along. There's nothing wrong with living in the moment, but they're not concerned with balancing the enjoyment of today with future preparation, instead prioritizing things like driving the latest car. What happens if you don't have enough saved up? Spoiler alert, it's not good. For starters, your standard of living is going to take a hit. Instead of traveling or pursuing hobbies, you might find yourself stressing over how to pay the bills. Many retirees end up relying heavily on Social Security and other government programs just to get by. With Social Security's future looking shaky, that's not exactly comforting. Then there's the fact that many people are forced to keep working, sometimes well into their 70s. But finding a job at that age isn't easy, especially if your health isn't great. Part-time work has its advantages, but who really wants to keep working that long when you've been eagerly anticipating retirement? For society, this is a big problem too. As more people rely on government aid, it puts a strain on public resources. Not to mention, an aging population with little savings isn't great for the economy. If retirees aren't spending, it can slow down economic growth, which affects everyone. What can we do to fix the retirement savings crisis? It's going to take a team effort. When individuals understand the importance of saving early, the benefits of compound interest, and the details of different retirement accounts, they're better equipped to make smart financial choices. Knowledge about budgeting, investing, long-term financial planning, and how these things can begin to benefit your life almost immediately can really encourage people to take action. By staying informed and educated, individuals can take proactive steps towards securing their retirement, ultimately reducing the risk of financial insecurity and contributing to a more stable retirement system for everyone. People need to take ownership of their financial situation. They're responsible for where they find themselves, and it's up to them to make changes. Blaming others or external factors can only get them so far, and complaining about the circumstances sure doesn't help. Instead, they should create a plan, take decisive action, and stay committed to it. Taking responsibility and actively working towards a solution is the best way to improve the situation and set themselves up for a better future. The retirement savings crisis isn't going to solve itself. It's a huge issue that affects millions of people, and it's only going to get worse if we don't do something about it. The good news is that there are steps we can take, both individually and as a whole, to make sure we're better prepared for the future. But we've got to act now, because retirement is going to sneak up on us faster than we think.